Okay, I am super excited. Today is the last day that we're putting sea moss into things. Well, for me, because next week's gonna be Project Soapway, and I cannot wait to tell you all about this recipe because this recipe is something that you can do with or without, sea moss. We're gonna do a Lush hack, and I'll tell you more about the Lush hack and the sea moss and all the things in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for the final cosmetic in the sea moss line. I'm super pumped. I can't wait to be done with this, but I really did want to play with this within a melt and pour form. And so this is effectively what we are doing. We are creating the Lush soaps, how they probably create their soaps in order to have it on the shelves at, they have like a counter where all of these soaps are just hanging out and you can do a cut your own and pay by the ounce and all the jazz. And I've seen a lot of people over the years ask, how do they do that? How do they do that? And everybody says it's a melt and pour, it's a melt and pour, it's a melt and pour. It's not exactly a melt and pour. It is a melt and pour-esque base thing. But from my understanding with what Lush does, they actually create some formulations within a cold process and it effectively becomes a rebatch. We are going to talk about how they get their melt and pour to exist on the shelves without any glycerin dew, without it being overly soft, without it being overly hard, all the jazz, while we make this using the sea moss soaps that I did originally for this channel several months ago when somebody said, hey, you should try sea moss. It's awesome, actually. And actually, because of those soaps, because of that original Sudser asking me if I had played with sea moss and if so I should, I ended up putting this into one of my wholesale lines. I had sent a bar to them and they're like, I love this. Can we do a cut your own at their facility? And so I formulated a sea moss soap, this effectively, to send to them so they can have a cut your own station at their shop. And so that's what we are doing. We are going to be making this for one of my wholesale accounts while we talk about how you can do this. And so let's get to the video and talk about all of those things, there. Okay, so how do I know that this is how Lush makes their soaps? Well, because they tell us. So right here it says, at Lush today, we either use a soap base bought from a supplier, made from a combination of rapeseed oil for a gentle creamy feel, and coconut, which makes the soap lather, or using our in-house soap base manufacturing facility, which allows us to make a soap base from any oils we want. What does this sound like to you? This sounds like a rebatch. With whatever base we choose to use, we then mix that with a humectant, or glycerin or a sorbitol solution or combinations thereof, along with water. Next, a flurry of natural ingredients, etc. and so forth. Cool. Awesome. Now, let's go on. Once mixed, everything gets heated up until it becomes a liquid. When it is then poured into molds, it's left to cool and set, and then cut and sent to our stores and our customers' doors. So, there's that. What does that sound like? That sounds like a rebatch. So that sounds like they have a soap base that they are then turning into a melt and pour, so it can be cuttable within their actual facility. And when we look at their ingredients list, that is precisely what is happening. But I actually went and found a video, which if I remember, I'll put in the description or I'll link somewhere in here, that talks about their soap noodles and actually shows the manufacturing process of their soaps. And they are using what they call soap noodles, which is effectively this. For those gourmet soaps that are made via cold process method. And then it's just it's soap shreds, except, they use a machine to cut it down into soap noodles. And they probably are pressing some of the moisture out as well, especially considering they said that they also add water into their formulations. And then from there, they add cocoa butter or they add oils or they add, whatever into their soap noodles, and they are creating essentially their melt and pour. Why is it a melt and pour? because they are putting in the solvents. So their glycerin and their propylene glycol within their formulations. So that is why their soaps do not get so super duper hard when they're on the shelves that they can't be cut. So they can do a pre-cut or cut your own, station or whatever. And that is why Lush has the humectant properties that it does. So we can go ahead and do that. So there's no like glycerin dew or anything that's on their bars. And so I'm thinking, well, why not do it for my customers? And so when somebody asked for that, that's exactly what we did. And so we are working with 40 total ounces of sea moss shreds plus 5 ounces of an isopropyl alcohol that is infused with the sea moss, as well as 15 ounces of the glycerin that is also infused with the sea moss gel. And then I'm adding my waxes for bar hardening, along with my clays and the madder root as I just put in here. So let's go cook this up. Okay, now on to the cook. Now with this is definitely going to be a trial and error. It's going to depend on a lot of factors. One is going to be how wet your soap shreds already are. If they are from a fresh bar of soap, you really are not going to need to put in any moisture whatsoever, any water. I do recommend it for the cook because it does help to go ahead and melt all of those little soap noodles, soap shreds down. But it's super not necessary, especially if you decide to go ahead and add your solvents right away, which you can do. They do not have to cook completely in order to, like the soap itself does not have to cook completely before you put in your solvents. You can do it all in one fell swoop. Now with this one, I did want some texture to remain within the bar, some of the chunks of the soap shreds, because for this particular wholesale account, they have a number of bars where I use their old bars as like inside, confetti shreds within a new batch of soap in order to make it, kind of interesting. And so that's what we are doing with this particular one, but you could leave this to cook a little bit longer. I do about 15 minutes on high for the first soap shreds, that along with all the additives that I'm putting in, so the clays and whatnot, and a little bit of water or oil or whatever if you want. Again, I am using the wax to firm this up. And then I put in the solvents, let it cook for another 5 minutes or so to make sure everything is melted down as much as I want and you have a nice smooth liquid consistency. And then I'm pouring into molds. This is highly customizable for you because this is something that you can add whatever kind of soap you want to. Interestingly, Lush did say that they have rapeseed. It's a blend of rapeseed and coconut oil, right? And so it's 2 ingredients, which isn't rapeseed like another word for canola? Is that right? And coconut. So you've got the moisture and you've got the big bubble. And that's basically all that goes into their main soap noodles. So then they're customizing from there, putting in your different butters and oils and all of the jazz to ensure that everything, again, is within good humidity ranges. So it's not going to be collecting glycerin dew or any of the jazz while it's sitting out in their facilities, the world over, really. So let's go check out the cut of this and see what we're working with. Okay, and on to the cut, and these guys have firmed up in about 3 hours, and now I can just take them out of the mold. I did add a white layer to them because I had extra and I wanted to see if it looked cute. So that's it. That's the only reason. So how do we determine what the humidity levels are and what you're going to want to put in? If you live in a really humid environment, or if you're doing like an outside fair booth type thing and you want to cut your own station experience, I would definitely recommend taking that percentage of the glycerin down and upping it instead with an alcohol. Now, for Lush, they use propylene glycol. I don't. I use isopropyl alcohol for almost all of my melt and pour soaps, including ones that I am turning into melt and pour soap from an existing cold process. And it works beautifully because the point of your solvents is it's disrupting that crystalline structure. Everybody likes to claim that cure is this long drawn out process because it takes forever for the crystalline structure to develop. It doesn't. That's false. That goes the antithesis of science. And we know that by nature of looking at how quickly and easily you can make a melt and pour. You can make a melt and pour from scratch using your raw oils, your raw butters, your everything, your lye, and then adding your glycerin and your alcohols after it's cooked for a little bit, just like this process, which means because it's disrupting and extending those crystalline structures, really lengthening them, which means that crystalline structure, the bulk of it, is done within saponification. So once saponification is complete, you're not going to get much more with the crystalline structure. So those actual solvents, it's going to be trial and error depending on, again, your humidity in your environment, how much glycerin you're going to want to put into this base in order to ensure that it's not, going to be getting glycerin dew, and how much alcohol. But for this, I do like to say in your solvents, whatever they may be, essentially 1 part solvents to 2 parts of your actual soap base, so your soap shreds, and then up to 1 part of your waxes and your other oils and butters and everything. That's a really good formulation to go off of to start playing with your rebatches, with your melt and pours, creating stuff within your own environments and facilities that can, again, we're using soap shreds. We are not throwing things away. We are allowing the sea moss itself in this instance to be incorporated in like 3-4 ways, right? Because I added additional sea moss to the actual cooking process. Then we have the sea moss glycerin. We have the sea moss alcohol. We have the sea moss soaps that were originally made. That was the sea moss shreds. So it's in there a bajillion different ways, and none of it smells, and all of it looks nice. Look how nice and, shiny and smooth the whole process is. So across the board, this is my favorite way to incorporate the sea moss for sure. My wholesale client loves them. They've gone down like gangbusters. Having a cut your own station, so cool. That's such a cool thing to do within your facilities if you can. So yeah, ultimately, this is my favorite way to put sea moss into anything, is going to be within soaps. And I know a lot of you have all of these journeys with sea moss, and you just like put it straight on your face, or you eat it whole and all that stuff. And like I said, every single day, you live your best life. I don't want to do that. And so this one I super love. This is a really great way to incorporate sea moss because you got those really beautiful bubbles that I dug quite a bit. Felt so good on the hand, beautiful hand slip. And incorporating it this way allows my wholesale account to have a cut your own station in their facility for their clients without having to worry about any glycerin dew, any overly soft bars, any overly hard bars, etc. and so forth. So this can be shelf stable for a very long period of time, which I think is pretty awesome. For the formulation itself, your mileage may vary with something like this. Realistically, this is something that you can do with any soap. The idea of turning, old soap that you've already made into a melt and pour, rebatching it, this is not a new concept for sure. This is something that's been done for a very long time, and Lush has been doing it for a very long time, and this is kind of how they do it. So always pay attention to your environment, your humidity levels when you are adjusting your glycerin and figuring out your glycerin ratios within all of it, and don't be afraid to put extra stearic acid in if you're concerned that it's going to be overly soft. It can just be a trial and error, but the beauty of all of this is because the melt and pour, by nature of putting in your solvents, so your glycerin, your alcohols, etc. and so forth, you're essentially just lengthening that crystalline structure that people love to talk about with cure and continue to get wrong. And so you can, therefore, continue to melt it down, change it up, add some more ingredients. And so that's a really great thing. And so definitely play around with it. Don't ever throw away soap scraps. Don't ever throw away anything that you don't super love, out of the gate when you're doing like a whole process or whatever. You can always take it to hot process, change it up, turn it into something special. This is something special. I super dig this. What do you guys think? Do you dig it? Is it awesome? For those of you who have booths this summer, are you considering maybe doing this and putting it in a booth thing? It's kind of a good appeal thing. People can come in and cut their own bars. Keeps them there. It's interactive. People like interactive things at booths. Just saying. Anyway, Sudsers, hi. It's been such a long week. I am exhausted. If you couldn't tell, I've been tired all week. Mr. has been gone. He travels all the time. And so, yeah, I've been kind of holding down the fort during a very, very busy time of the year for myself, for the kiddos, for all the things. And I am very much looking forward to not doing this for the rest of the day and just like sitting and having a good time with the kidlets, like drawing or building Lego or something, So that's what I'm going to go do. Sudsers, thank you for existing. Thank you for being you. For the rest of you that are here, you exist too. Hi. I'm out of here. We are going to be starting the Project Soapway soap, and so be on the lookout for that. We have 3 new winners with gorgeous sea moss soaps that they accomplished with no problems whatsoever. They got all the smooth bars and all the fun, and we're going to talk about how they did it, so come back for that. Love you, mean it. For the Sudsers, for the rest of you, I don't know you. And I will see you guys all again on Monday for another round of soapy fun. Bye.